Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the letters of Peter, and we're transitioning between First Peter and Second Peter today. These two books, let's remember, we introduced them several weeks ago. These two letters, we call them books, but they're letters. These two letters are closely associated with each other because they were written, I think, quite close together, maybe within weeks of each other or less time than that. They were written in the days following the burning of Rome, AD 63. They were written in the time of great persecution of Christians by the Roman Empire because Nero blamed Christians for the burning of Rome. Paul dies. Thousands die. Peter dies in the city of Rome during this persecution. First Peter and Second Peter are written with this din, with this activity happening in the background. And First Peter is written to people who live in Turkey, pretty much all over what we think of as the nation of Turkey, because they're about to be persecuted. And in fact, the evidence seems to indicate that the most intense persecution that will take place, and the most frequent persecution that will take place in these cities, in what we think of as present-day Turkey, that will, make up the heart of the Eastern Empire in just, a couple of centuries. And so, first, Peter is writing in preparation. Peter is going to be executed, and he knows this. And so he writes these two letters, each to prepare the church for when he is gone, something he makes clear at the very beginning of chapter 1. First Peter is about surviving the persecution itself and making meaning of it, making sense of it, and understanding who we are in it. And when we're in the moment of it, what we do. And it was used that way throughout the period of Roman persecution of Christians all the way up until the Edict of Milan in AD 313, when Christianity was legalized by Constantine. This Second Peter is going to be about the issue of false teaching that they're going to address, which is the greater existential threat to the church, even though the church survives. The church survives. If there's one Christian or 0 Christians on the planet, the church survives because the Word survives. The Word is the seed. So long as the seed survives, the life of the organism survives. Anyway, before we leave First Peter, we do want to talk about the themes that connect the two letters, because Second Peter is going to be about false teaching, and it's a completely different threat. But the answers are the same. We're going to see between the two books the necessity for Christians to have an inner calm, an inner peace that is based upon faith in the promises of God, an understanding that what we have is permanent, that God values us, and he still values us despite all the hardship we're going through. And the thing that creates is humility between Christians. And the antithesis of that is being puffed up, of wanting to be the boss, of wanting to be the big shot. And when we pursue that, we end up being a people who are weak, who are panicked, who are ill-suited to surviving either of these threats. And so let's remember what Peter has ended First Peter by saying, you need to keep your eyes open because the devil prowls around, I should say, like a roaring lion. You need to remember where you are in the presence of God and act humbly. You need to be confident in the promises of God because he's the one who's going to firmly establish you, and you'll know who you are and where you're going and that cannot be changed by any external forces. It's very much in the tone of the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, 100 years or so later, when he writes almost identical words about things, about how you survive difficulty and intrigue and politics. You have to know who you are and know whose you are and what's important. We're going to introduce 2 Peter specifically next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.